So in this video, I just want to go over the Homework 1 Excel template, the file that you will all need to use to complete the homework. This is an Excel file. It includes the balance sheet on one worksheet, and then also a separate worksheet for the deferred tax calculations that you'll need to do to complete the balance sheet. And one thing I really want to emphasize now, and this remains an emphasis throughout the course, you'll be working with Excel spreadsheets on a number of the homework assignments. Nearly all of them will use Excel spreadsheets, and definitely the first 4 homeworks when we're completing and using financial statements, we'll be working in Excel sheets for those. And I just want to emphasize that I realize there's probably a varying degree of experience and backgrounds in using Excel, but it's critical and very important that all students in this class have at least some basic functionality in working in Excel workbooks. So the point I want to highlight right off the bat is that when possible, always use formulas to calculate subtotals or totals, and also reference values from other sheets that are used in multiple areas of a workbook rather than entering things manually. Again, this just gets you used to kind of using good practices in Excel, and it also helps to reduce the number of errors. If you find that you've made a mistake in one area, and you have to update a value, you want to make sure that you only have to do that in one spot, and then everything else will automatically adjust. If you're entering things manually across worksheets, you might have to change multiple values, and if you miss something, it's not going to correct all of the errors if you have to go back and make one of those adjustments. So examples of what I'm talking about, I'll show you these here in a second in the template file itself. We'll take a look at that, but I'm talking about, again, basic subtotals and totals. We have those in each section on our balance sheet as examples in this first homework. Accounts on the balance sheet that are used in deferred tax or valuation equity calculations, so you want to be referencing things from deferred taxes and valuation equity and pulling those values directly back onto the balance sheet itself. And then finally, completing the equity section of the balance sheet. It's really frustrating. Sometimes I see students come in to get help during office hours, which is great, but they'll come in with their laptop, they'll have the Excel sheet open, they'll be doing calculations on the side with a calculator and then entering values in manually on the Excel spreadsheet. That is not utilizing the functionality that Excel has. Excel is a calculator. It's much more than a calculator. So you should be using we're just going to be doing basic adding and subtracting here is all you need, but you should be using the formula functionality that Excel has rather than doing calculations on the side with a calculator by hand and then entering values manually. So I'll try to show you some examples of what I mean by these things here as we take a look at the template itself. Okay, so here is our Homework 1 template file. This is an Excel spreadsheet that's available on Compass, posted along with the Word document that includes the instructions for the homework. And this is the file that you'll need to work in and use to actually complete the homework, and then your completed file will be what you submit for grading. So there are 4 worksheets in this file. The first one being the Info tab, which you don't need to worry about. It just includes some date information and some tax rate information that is used in other parts of the workbook to do some calculations, and it populates some labels. Again, you don't need to worry about making any changes, and please don't make any changes here. You've got the balance sheet worksheet, which is what you'll be working in and completing the balance sheet. It includes the list of line items that are also in the Word document, and then the balance sheet itself, which you'll be completing. The deferred tax and valuation equity worksheet, which you'll be using to do the deferred tax calculations as well as the valuation equity calculations. And then finally, the tab where you can provide answers to the short answer questions, as well as the extra credit. That's optional on this homework. Back to the balance sheet. A couple of things I wanted to point out and emphasize here. First of all, there are some cells that you can see are shaded in different colors. So we've got cells that are shaded in gray. Those are all subtotal cells. There are already formulas built into those cells that I have put there. They will calculate the subtotals or other calculations that need to be done, and things will adjust as you enter information on the balance sheet. So we can see here that in the current assets section, this cell calculates total current assets. As we add things into the current assets section, this subtotal will adjust. The only thing we have here right now is the cash balance for the business, which was given to us as, I think, the very first item here. So cash on hand and in checking is $187,000. That one was completed for you as an example, and our subtotal is currently at $187,000, since that's the only value there. If I went ahead and deleted the cash value, you can see that we dropped down to 0. But I'll go back and add that cash balance back in. And you'll also notice that I'm referencing the cell rather than typing 187,000 in manually here. I'm actually pointing it to the value that's provided over here in the list. As we scroll down, same thing in the non-current assets section. We've got machinery and equipment was already provided for you. It's item B from our list of 175,000. And so since that's the only thing we have entered so far in our non-current assets section, our subtotal is at 175,000. Again, as you add other items here, this subtotal will adjust automatically. We've got some subtotals over here for the current liabilities section, non-current liabilities, total liabilities, and then some things that are automatically calculated here in the equity section for you as well. The other cells that have some built-in referencing or calculations already are in red. These are the deferred tax values, and they are being pulled directly from the deferred tax worksheet. So here you'll be entering information from the current asset and current liability section of the balance sheet, doing the current deferred tax calculations. At the bottom here is where you'll get your current portion of deferred tax number, and then that's automatically being pulled over onto the balance sheet here. Same for the non-current portion of deferred taxes. You will be entering information here, these values in gray, and then the value in red will adjust, and then that value is being pulled directly over here onto the balance sheet. Valuation equity I put in blue. Again, valuation equity worksheet is where those calculations are done. Value in blue here updates automatically as you enter in more information, and then whatever that value is pulled directly over to your balance sheet. So you don't need to worry about changing any of these things. The formulas should all be correct, and the subtotals and references will adjust as you start entering things on your balance sheet. Again, I can't really emphasize enough that you should use Excel's functionality to help you complete this. So don't add things up and find values, using your calculator and then enter things manually in the workbook. You should be using Excel to do everything for you. It's quicker, it's easier, it's more accurate. It's going to eliminate steps where you could make mistakes typing things in manually. I feel like every semester I have some students who come into the office. They want some help with the homework, and I see them with the Excel spreadsheet on their laptop, but then they're doing calculations manually with a calculator and then entering in values manually. That's just a good way to make mistakes, and it's not using Excel for what it's capable of and what it's meant for. So just do everything that you can here in Excel using functions and references. If you have questions on that, obviously feel free to ask. I'll try to walk you through these. I'm assuming you have some experience, some basic experience in Excel. At this point, everybody should. With that, good luck on the homework. We do have office hours scheduled. Both the TA and myself have office hours in the days leading up to when the homework is due next Wednesday. So please feel free to drop by during either of those if you have questions, need some extra help on the homework. But good luck working through this assignment. Like I said, we're going to be using spreadsheets in most of the assignments moving forward. So please take the time now to get comfortable in terms of working in Excel to complete these things.